let's take a look at the development of personality disorders, specifically narcissistic personality disorders. So, as with all personality disorders, the development, as well as with all mental health disorders, the cause of narcissistic personality disorder is very complex. But narcissistic personality disorder may be linked to, first of all, excessive parental adoration, also called no discipline. So let's look at a parent who has a 2-year-old who lacks the verbal skills to say that they want the ice cream right now. So they kick and they scream and they beat their little fists on the floor and even beat their little fists on a parent, and the parent gives in to the tantrum and the child gets the ice cream. So the next time the child wants something, he simply throws a tantrum. And guess what? He gets what he wants. So this continues throughout the teenage years. And before long, you are looking at a 50, 60, 70-year-old man who still throws a tantrum like a 2-year-old. Now, only this is scary because those not so little fists beating do some real damage, and the now developed verbal skills are hurling nonsensical insults. Quite pathetic. So parents who can see no wrong in their little sprite and allow them to do whatever they want, whenever they want, is going to grow up to be a disrespectful man or woman who does whatever they want, whenever they want. So number 2 is a bad example, also called following in mom or dad's footsteps. So the child who watched a parent treat others, perhaps even himself, the child himself, treat them like crap, can very easily mistake the parent's bad behavior for strength and grow up admiring the parent's bad behavior. He knows no better, he's just a child, and subsequently behave just as poorly as the parent did. This child becomes a kind of a mini-me, a mommy who taught a son how to be a man. Watch them closely, you will see the similarities. The boy may have seen mommy screaming and swearing and behaving overly emotional, and what do you know? He becomes a man who behaves like a woman. Number 3, abuse. So a child who grows up being physically, verbally, and or mentally abused decides to become the bully and actually gets joy out of hurting others. It helps him to forget how being helpless and experiencing pain feels. The pain of others brings him satisfaction. So if a child is exposed to sex, either by watching porn or accidentally see a parent in the act, he becomes the eternal spectator. He can never be intimate and connect on an emotional level with his partner. So abuse lets little children decide to dissociate from their emotions, or in other words, they simply refuse to feel emotions and eventually just cannot feel emotions anymore. For them it is just too painful and they choose not to feel, and eventually I think they forget to feel. So number 4 is the neurobiological dysfunction. 95% of the serotonin in your body is produced in the lining of your gastrointestinal tract, where it regulates the movements of your intestines, and only 5% is produced in your brainstem, where it transmits signals between the nerve cells in your brain. So due to childhood trauma or abuse, this is long-term abuse, long-term trauma, the brainstem just simply does not secrete enough dopamine and serotonin. And the only way to get this adrenaline rush, to get this I want to get up and live is for the person to cause a ruckus, and then they get this sort of a high. And that's why narcissists so often have to cause a ruckus over nothing, because else they can't function. That's the only thing that makes them happy or feel fairly good and gets them to want to get up. So the serotonin and dopamine insufficiently could be as a result of childhood abuse. For this kind of dysfunction, medication sorts it out, because hardly ever a narcissist will admit to what's happening, to his condition, her condition, and they don't want to sit down to do the inner work. It can be fixed, in my opinion, it can be fixed, but it takes work. So no matter how the narcissist is formed, they all have the same qualities. Whether it's a Japanese, Portuguese, Afrikaans person, they all behave in exactly the same way. They do the same strange things. It's like they are cut from the same cookie cutter, or went to some narc school to learn how to be utterly hurtful and utterly spiteful and utterly vengeful people. Their personalities are all rigged in that the world is only black or white. There is no gray area. They constantly need to be made to feel wanted because of their inflated ego. They just can't get enough compliments and adoration. This is to name but a few of the shared traits, but that's a whole teaching on its own, and I'll definitely do one on that because that'll keep you busy. So the point is that no one took the time or perhaps cared enough to guide the child into a better personality development. It's actually quite sad. Every child has to learn how to regulate their emotions. It starts with the first tantrum. It is too late to try to redevelop a personality at the age of 30 or 40 and onwards. I don't know, I think you can modify it if they want to sit down, but they never want to sit down. So every child has to learn that life does not always go the way they expected it to go, and that we can't kick and scream everyone into submission. It's called learning basic respect. In short, manners for minors. It is too late to try and teach a 30-year-old manners. There are certain behaviors that is just not accepted in society. We do not use profanity. For instance, we do not spit at people. And we do not throw things and break things in a raging temper tantrums. Again, this cannot be learned in adulthood. The best place to learn it, best time to learn it is during childhood. There has to be appropriate consequences for bad behavior. When we steal, when we rape, and if we are caught and we commit murder, we get locked into jail. However, for the narcissist, there was never any appropriate punishment. The child was either punished not at all or too much, in excess. There was never a healthy place for the child to grow up. So the child just bullied others, he broke the toys of others, and nothing would happen. So why would they fear punishment in adult life? That's why so many abusers walk the streets today. All narcissists have enablers. Mommies and daddies, parents, and other people, maybe siblings, who constantly make excuses for their bad behavior or try and sweep it under the rug. Or even worse, some parents or enablers are so afraid of the monster that they created that they would rather support them in their evil than stand up to them and try and help them. Because standing up to a narcissist really is an attempt at helping him. to see the error of his ways. So I'm not the bearer of good news today. If you are in a relationship with an adult narcissist, I'm sorry to tell you, it will probably never change. It is too late. You have to now get out, get help, before you lose everything, including your dignity, your smile, your very soul. Remember that if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, nothing is impossible for you. So please share, like, subscribe. Let's get the word out there so that people can at least save themselves. Because now that we understand where it comes from, the condition of narcissists, we understand what to do about it. Have faith in yourself.